Watch out for that bird. Hey everybody, welcome back to our mobile studio. Thank you for riding along with us as we continue on this big West Coast trip.
So how do you think it's going so far?
You know, I think that it might be going just a little bit better than we thought it would go.
You know, I agree. We're about 40% done, 50% done, somewhere in there, and it has gone really, really well, but let's keep it that way.
I agree. Onward. We recently visited Seattle, where we spent a few days filming and participating in the Housing First Partners Conference. In this episode, we'd love to share with you that experience. So sit back and enjoy.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hi, I'm Daniel Malone.
I'm Sam Tsimberas.
We're in downtown Seattle at the 6th Housing First Partners Conference. Well, this is a conference that's been happening since 2012 biannually for people practicing Housing First, people funding Housing First, people interested in Housing First.
Also, people receiving the program.
Success looks very, very different to everybody.
You know, it's a place to gather, exchange information, new ideas.
Everyone is a partner in this work, and we're all here to learn from each other. The workshops are designed so that at least half of the time is learning from people in the audience, not just from the presenter.
What I enjoy the most is the level of knowledge of the presenters. To see people that care about it that much is incredibly gratifying.
We've maxed out our capacity, and that was including getting a bigger venue. We thought it appropriate to start the conference here today, learning from people with lived expertise.
I spent the better part of 3 years just trying to get an ID. When you're outside and your stuff is constantly being stolen, you guys know the story.
Let me figure myself out. Just walk alongside me while I figure that out.
I spent 8 years on the streets as a youth. So being 13 to 22, people don't understand where you're coming from.
When I was homeless, I didn't care about nobody or anything. But look at me now.
So the session itself, as it was moderated, went very well. But we had left an open door.
We're going to have microphones, but I know that there are some folks out there who also have lived experience and would love to hear your story.
I experienced homelessness like after I did quote unquote everything right. You know, I was in the child welfare system and they tell you, you know, act right at home, act right at school, go to college and do all those things, and I did all of that, and I still experienced homelessness because there was gaps in the system. Yeah, this conference is like amazing. I've been to so many conferences and I'm always sitting at the table, all of us with lived expertise. We're like, man, it would be so better if they did it like this. It would be so much better if it did it like this. And this conference has lifted voices with lived expertise in a way that I haven't seen before.
My mother was on heroin when I was born. My life was hell. When I was 9, I was molested. And that's what took me to homelessness until I was 32 years old. I got in my job to help people like us.
What brought me to tears actually was the gratitude that the people at the tables expressed to the people on stage, thanking them for having the courage to speak.
First, I just want to say thank you all so much. It's really hard to get on a stage and talk to a whole bunch of people not knowing like where they are mentally in regards to like homelessness or what they think about it. So thank you all so much.
Y'all are powerful. Before you even started talking, I was crying. You said, when common sense and facts collide.
Yes.
Right?
The truth.
Yes.
Yes.
We need that explosion.
Absolutely.
So what a concept. The experts that normally do all the talking sat silent, and those with lived experience spoke for as long as they wanted to. The notion of listening to the voices of those who have lived through homelessness to better come up with solutions and policies is catching on like wildfire.
So this was our third Housing First Partners Conference, and I gotta tell you, it's been interesting to observe how Housing First has developed and grown up over the years.
For many reasons, I'm grateful to be at this conference and to be with my colleagues who are each implementing and pushing boundaries on what we mean by Housing First.
We're actually talking about how to scale it and bring it at a community level, at a statewide level, at a national level.
So that's what the next day's plenary was about. There were 3 examples of successful government Housing First programs. First, on the local level, Milwaukee County.
You can actually reduce homelessness with Housing First. You have to get your local governments to be leaders in this space. That's where the funding is, and that's where the outcomes are going to be. Since we started in 2015 with Housing First, we have a 92% reduction in unsheltered homelessness.
Second, on the state level, Georgia.
Everybody would have told you that what we were doing was Housing First, but that was not true. We were getting people housed, but there was a fundamental component missing, which was the support component. And so what we did was we created a separate housing support program. It essentially mandates non-clinical, non-treatment supports to help navigate with you, alongside you, if you're an individual that is on our voucher program. And to be able to do this in a conservative state, I'm gonna give us credit for that and focus on the positive.
Third, on the national level, Ireland.
The promise in Ireland is very simple. Everyone who needs Housing First will get it. I suppose maybe what we're going to learn here in Ireland is that because we've delivered Housing First nationally and at scale, it's prepared us better for this unexpected housing emergency.
There were 2 messages there. One, you can take it to scale, and this is how. You're building partnerships, coalition, everything that the presenters said. But also, government at the lead really matters, and these coalitions wouldn't have been possible without government leading it. So it was a great session to showcase what's possible with government at the lead.
By the way, if you haven't seen a couple of videos that we did about Milwaukee, we'll link them in the description below. We've already interviewed Monica Johnson's impressive program in Georgia, and Ireland is actually on the list of countries we plan to visit for this film. So we're really looking forward to learning what it is that they're doing over there.
It's important to understand that Housing First is a homeless intervention model that is transferable from city to city, state to state, and country to country, with the same 80 to 90% success rates as long as it's implemented properly with quality case management and services. That's the key.
So even if the conference had ended there, it still would have been one for the books. But there was also day 3 that took things up a notch.
Do you know that there is a movement against Housing First?
No, I was not aware that there's a movement.
There are dark forces out there that are trying to undermine the Housing First approach.
We're challenging the status quo in a way that hasn't been before, and we're getting a lot of blowback. So there's a kind of a narrative battle going on.
I was privileged to be on the stage.
And I was privileged to be below the stage.
Yeah, we were both privileged to be part of the discussion, as it aligns perfectly with the film that we're making.
We're all here because we know that we have an approach that works.
Housing First has been a tremendous success. You all know that. In the work you do every day, you see hundreds of thousands of people housed across this country.
And now here we are in 2022 with people responding to the crisis of today saying that Housing First doesn't work.
And now we have well-funded and sophisticated entities, and they are selling pro-criminalization, anti-Housing First legislative packages to state houses across the country.
We've seen quite a few bills this year to completely dismantle our Housing First system.
I hear people say, look, you've been doing Housing First for 10, 15, 20 years, and we still have homelessness, therefore Housing First is failing. Or even worse, Housing First is causing homelessness.
If they can mischaracterize Housing First as, look what they're doing, giving freebies to people without holding them accountable, and they're using your tax dollars to do it, they can score points with the public when the public doesn't understand what it really means.
It really doesn't matter that this is by far the best way to address homelessness. It doesn't matter unless you tell the story in a way that the public will receive it. The good news is that this story hasn't been told yet.
And that's exactly why we're making our film, to help the public witness the effective way of addressing homelessness and to show a hopeful path forward.
But in the meantime,
what stories are we telling? And what I would really encourage folks to understand is that any counter that starts with, well, it's complicated, has failed already.
How about this? You save lives. Very simple.
So if I can help you understand that you are also being harmed by the thing that is harming someone else, now we're all allies.
And think about your colleagues all over the country who are not here with us in person. And if each of you uses everything in your power to make some noise, sharpen your message, use the media, meet with your elected officials, demand time with your congressional representatives and your senators, let them know what you're doing.
Don't just aim at Republicans. Democrats are on the fence too. We will pick it up at the national level if you all are doing it at the local level. We gotcha. We will pick it up.
So let's find that common ground and let's direct people towards that goal, with Housing First as a key element of that, but a real acknowledgement that Housing First is not a panacea either, right? It's not there. We need a lot more than what you all are doing in the room. We need to be going upstream and turning off the faucet about who's becoming homeless in the first place. If we don't do that, there is no math that's going to add up to an end to homelessness.
It was a great plenary, very thought-provoking, and we appreciated being a part of it.
Did we mention how great it was to finally be able to hang out with so many people in person? Zoom is great, but nothing compares to being able to interact with your fellow human beings in the same space.
This has been a great conference.
My first in-person conference across country in more than 2 years. It's fantastic.
It's more than just being gathered together. It is also being able to connect with your brothers and sisters in the struggle, if you will.
It's been wonderful to have that community, to kind of feel reassured that there are other people who are on our side and willing to stand up around the country.
More importantly, just the content. And like you saw on today's panel, to have some real discussion about the challenges that we face in this field.
The vibe, the energy was positive, spontaneous expressions of gratitude.
I leave 3 days like this feeling more hopeful than when I arrived.
Every time we've done this conference, we've asked ourselves, should we do it again?
We're going to do it again in 2 years in Atlanta.
There's a few people we'd like to thank. Daniel, Sam, Maria, Jake, Paula, Alice, and Carly. Thank you all for allowing us to be part of the conference and arranging the production logistics, which made it easy for us. And also thank you to the Westin Hotel for pulling all of this off.
This is the first event this hotel's done in more than a couple of years here. What an incredible job they have done taking care of us this week.
To all of you who attended the conference and we didn't get to speak with you, we'd love to hear from you. As we continue our travels, we're looking for inspiring stories. If you have a great story or you know someone in your organization who does, please let us know. And if we pass through your city or state, we'll see what we can do to connect. To follow our progress, you can always subscribe to our mailing list and follow us on Instagram.
So thank you again for going on this ride with us. We'll see you next time. Ciao.